What can Daniel Levy possibly offer Harry Kane to incentivise him to put pen to paper as they initiate new contract talks? Are there any upsides in allowing Kane to run down his deal and walk for free next summer? Is that really more appetising than getting a fee and selling to a Premier League rival this year?
No, but if that's the reality of it, when I get the impression that there's a distinct feeling that Harry Kane may well re-sign for Tottenham. There are people in his family that would very much like that. There are other people in his family that would like to perhaps get themselves involved in a transfer deal that they've never done before and move him along. I think the feeling was that there wasn't as many suitors for Harry Kane as the media would like you to have believed, and that the Man City offer wasn't quite as solid as people think it was. And so where is Harry Kane? What can he be offered? Well, he can be offered a very lucrative contract. There can be a change of manager that kicks Tottenham on the next level, because they've made 2 trophy appointments, and I think neither one of them have particularly worked for Daniel, in Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte. In my view, I think Conte's gone. I think I'll be absolutely amazed if Conte is still there post the last kick of the ball this season.
Conte's gone as in when?
I think their main focus is that they've got to stay inside the top 4. And whether we can, the Tottenham fans can scream and shout, and of course they can, about the loss of opportunities in FA Cups and League Cups in the history of Daniel Levy. But right in the here and now, they need to be in the top 4. That top 4 keeps on building revenue for Tottenham, keeps on giving them an opportunity to close the gap between those that spend at King's ransom and those that don't, which Tottenham are one of them. And without that, they lose the lustre of that opportunity and potential players that they want to keep and potential players that they want to acquire. So I think what they'll do, if Conte goes off the reservation now and proves to be a liability and looks like he's going to diminish the opportunity of being inside the top 4, it'll be gone. If the best call of action is to say, right, well, we've got what we've got now, and the best course of action is to keep Conte in place because we need that top 4 spot, then Conte will stay and finish his contract. That would be my take on how things are.
What do you think? What's the perception at the top of the house at Tottenham of Conte at this time? At this time, after what we heard from Conte in recent days?
Well, I would suggest that they would be, if I was in their shoes and I had listened to some of the things that Conte had said, that I would be disappointed. I would be disappointed in the fact that he doesn't have any continuity and consistency in what he says. He seems to contradict himself in the same breath of talking about people needing to be patient when we all know that he's the most impatient person, and ultimately constantly calls things out. We had to listen to him last year talking about the impatience, potentially resigning on the spot after the Burnley job because he was having a fit of pique about things. So I would imagine that the Tottenham board will look at it and think these are hard yards with these guys. The Mourinhos and Contes of the world, they're hard yards. What they would probably look and think is, why couldn't I have got someone like Klopp? Why couldn't I have got someone like Klopp that actually, in real terms, you don't hear Klopp. Klopp needs more players. He needs more money. But you don't really hear it the way that you hear it from other managers. You sense with Klopp that he works with the board. You sense with Klopp that he understands that he's got an obligation to do a job and to get the best outcomes that you possibly can, at the same time as not make it difficult for the board, because Liverpool have consistently only really ever spent what they've been able to recoup from big transfer sales. So with that in mind, the ownership model at Liverpool isn't too dissimilar to Tottenham's, and it's ironic that they were the 2 football clubs that decided to adopt the furlough policy and both vilified for it.
Yeah.
And both of those 2 football clubs have been very vociferous, John Henry and Daniel Levy, about the need for sustainability in football and the competitivity of it. So I would think that someone like Levy's looking around saying, why didn't I get myself a Klopp? What looks like Klopp for me? What looks like something like that? And who could that be? Would it be Pochettino? I don't think so. I think that ship has sailed. I think there's a good reason why Pochettino went, and I don't think that reason has changed.
You don't think he'll be back?
I'd be surprised, and unless they run out of options, unless they're really looking at the bottom of a barrel and going, well, we've got nothing else here and nothing else of any credibility. You can ask the question why they applied Nuno Espirito Santos, look at the technical director and look at his recommendations as to the reasons why they might have done that, and look at where they are now and say, Conte, gone. Now go to the original conversation, Kane. I think if Kane was going to have gone, there would have been harder and faster decisions being made when he really was looking like he wanted to go. I don't think Man City don't need him now, do they? They're not going to buy him.
Oh, of course.
Right, so because you've got Erling Haaland, who's going to buy him? He ain't going to go to Chelsea. That's not going to happen. He's definitely not going to go to Arsenal. Right. Do you think he's going to go to the Bundesliga? I don't think so. So where does he go? Man United? Maybe.
He's an upgrade in Weghorst, isn't he?
Well, he is.
With all due respect to
but again, Manchester United and Tottenham will have perhaps done deals in the past over Berbatov and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So we know that these deals can be done. But I think there's a quiet, albeit not completely assured confidence that there's enough skin in this game to be able to get Harry Kane to want to stay at Tottenham.
At the time when I threw in it and it was fact, West Ham would be holding out for 120 million plus add-ons for Declan Rice. What would Harry Kane's valuation truly be this summer?
Oh, I don't know, you see.
With 1 year left in his deal.
Well, West Ham can hold out for whatever valuation they want. They will get...
Declan. Yeah.
They will get what the market...
What's Kane's valuation?
But let me just answer that question first. West Ham can hold out whatever valuation they want. They won't get it unless someone else is prepared to pay for it. And if someone wants to wait in the long grass until Declan Rice is in control of his contract destiny, they'll get him for whatever they choose to pay within reason. Right? So with this in this situation now, Harry Kane at 30 years of age... And watching him change as a player, because he is changing. You know, I'm not going to talk into the area of the footballers that will talk about more expertise about the individual attributes of a player, but you can see him beginning to change. You can see him becoming a player that's dropping more deeper and becoming more of a 10 than a number 9, yet still being prolific in his output. I don't know.
There's talk that Levy wouldn't accept a penny less than 100 million.
Well, fine, but no one's going to pay £100 million for a player that's out of contract in a year's time. And you're talking about whom? You're talking about really only Manchester United. The German clubs are not going to pay £100 million for Harry Kane. So that's off the table. So then there's no competitive tension.
Our friend in Paris probably would.
Maybe. But I don't see Harry Kane going to PSG. Why? Look at this. It's a circus over there.
At the moment.
It's been a circus for years. They've got the Harlem Globetrotters. They've got the big names. They win the French league. They win nothing else. Right? And if Harry wants that, which I don't think he would do, unless there's such a ridiculous disparity between what PSG are going to pay. If PSG are going to pay him £500,000 a week and Tottenham are going to pay him 250 or whatever they're paying,
goodbye,
and believe they're paying a lot of money for Harry Kane, then ultimately that may be the case. But I don't see him landing at PSG. So then you look at it and say, they're not going to pay $100 million for the Bundesliga. PSG might be an option, but I don't see it as a competitive football option for him. He ain't going to go to Chelsea. He isn't going to go to Arsenal. He's not going to go to Man City. Then there's two other options. It's unlikely Liverpool, so you're talking about Man United. And if Man United are going to pay £100 million for a 30-year-old player, it'll be the first time they've done anything like it. So there you are. So then all roads lead back to this sort of situation where Tottenham have a lot more in this than people think they have, just because it's Harry Kane on the last year of his contract.
So he signs a new deal or he walks in a free next summer?
Well, those are the two options, aren't they?
They are.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.